Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel, the Cool Crone, and also to Gerald's channel, Tarotstache. We're
Woohoo!
very, very happy to see you tonight, and we're going to be talking about Mabon. Some people pronounce it Mabon. We will talk about the various pronunciations later. And before we get started in our discussion, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Gerald. And how are you, and what's going on for you?
I am doing very well, and I think everybody should like and subscribe to both of our channels. All of the detail is in the description box below. I mean, I have to do that. I have to do
Very
that
nice. Very nice.
because if I didn't, people would be going, "Is Gerald okay? Is Gerald okay?" Um,
Yes,
well, and
true.
I was telling Colleen in the back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm having it's a laugh and learn and a magic tool talk about not magic, and that's KNOT. And so I'm looking forward to that. Do you do much not magic?
I do a little. Yeah. I've
Okay.
I've been known to knot a few times in my life. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It
I
depends on what I need to get done, whether I can do not magic or not.
yes, that's so true. That's so
Mhm.
true. And then um Long Stash is going to be doing our Mabon readings on Friday. And
Nice.
that's the day before because it actually happens on the 23rd, which is Saturday. So,
Mhm.
but
So
yeah.
nice for all the people who are trying to get together for it to
Oh,
land
yeah.
on a weekend. Thank you.
It is. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So, but
Really
I
good.
have a whole bunch of great stuff planned for the rest of the month and already planning stuff for October and November. Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. Well, you got me beat. I'm just into October right now.
Well,
Well,
but you took Mercury retrograde off.
I did. I did. But the whole time since even before Mercury went retrograde, I've been doing the fair, and
Ye-
that is great fun but exhausting. And it's especially exhausting because right now we're doing a huge project at my civilian job, which I'm kind of at the heart of. So
Mhm.
there's no rest for the weary for me.
Oh
It's like
wow.
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I did get let's see, what did I do? I did something, some kind of show thing. Oh yeah, I did the one of the astrologers from the fair. I did a live stream with her, and that was week before last, I think. When was that? It was right after fair started, so it would have been maybe it could have been still in August, I'm not sure. And then yeah, I think it was maybe August 31st because I think it was a Thursday. Anyway,
Mm.
she turned out to be wonderful. Her name's Mira. And if anybody is in the New York area around Tuxedo, New York, which is a beautiful, beautiful little spot in the
Mm.
planet, you should come to the New York Ren Fair. It runs on weekends through October 8th. And I'm there reading tarot cards and doing palm readings and also doing astrology for people who stop by. Um,
She's
what
like
else?
multi-talented people. It's like I'm just learning about astrology, so I'm slow on the uptake to this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's really fun, and it's such a challenge too to read that many people every day. Yeah, you get like 20, 25 people just boom, 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 one after the other reading, and it is really challenging to do that, and all different things. One wants a palm, one wants a tarot, one wants this, one wants that. It's a little cuckoo. But so we're doing all that, and let's see, what else do we have here? I put out some astrology videos, for the month, so everybody's got that to tide them over until I'm back full strength. And we're doing this tonight, Mabon, and tomorrow I'm doing a podcast with some people who are actually in Canada. Their podcast is called Haunting Live, no space in between the words, Haunting Live podcast. They're on podcasts and they're also on YouTube. And they talk to all sorts of people who delve in the paranormal and metaphysical worlds.
Oh,
So
nice.
they've done a lot of interviews with like witches and tarot readers and blah blah blah. And they called me and they said, "So you're a bunch of those things." And I said, "Yeah, I am. So let's do this shit." So we're gonna do it.
So you just basically described yourself as an overachiever, right?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, but that's why everybody's here for it, because
Ah, it's so great. It's
I
so
think
great.
I think it's one of those things, Colleen, is when you have access to that much information, the skill really is like alchemy. It's temperance. It's like, I'm going to pull from here, going to do this, and it makes you even more valuable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I was really blessed with the family that I was born into,
Mhm.
even though most of them were nuttier than a bag of hammers. They they were really I had some severe mental illness in my family, no joke. But almost everybody that I can think of in my family was super duper psychic, and none
Oh,
of them talked about it. It was just a matter of course. Of
oh,
course, they were also bananas, so the rest of the outside world kinda thought, "Oh, yeah, those people," or,
mhm,
but it was not, I never went through anything in childhood where someone tried to make me feel ashamed of it, except for people outside my family,
sure.
and, that then they were cruel. They were cruel. People, mainly, like, parents to my friends would just say, "Oh, you can't play with that girl, she lies." And I was like, "To a witch? That's like, what? I lie? No, I don't lie." But, at 8 years old, how do you defend yourself?
Yeah,
That was bad. But my family knew that I was, good at heart, so they didn't care. I mean,
that's
you know,
good, and that's what you need. You need that core.
yeah, yeah. Because when I was very, very young, my oldest brother is 10 years older than me. So by the time I was 8, he was already planning on well, he'd already lived overseas for a year to go to school,
Wow.
and when he came back, he had decided that he wanted to do more of that. So, I guess by the time I was 9, he was already traveling back and forth to India and, doing a lot of, meditation and studying and, just trying to figure out what the religions were in India. He was fascinated by it, and
Mhm.
he would send me things. He would send me little, little totems, he would send me jewelry, he would send me stones, he would send me pictures, those beautiful pictures of, like, Radha and Krishna and Shiva and Parvati and Hanuman and Ganesh, and I had them all over my bedroom walls.
I
So,
love
most little girls had pictures of the Beatles, I
Yeah,
had Shiva.
I
And I
love
was and I was very grateful to George Harrison for teaching me, how to properly praise him because that was
Yes. Oh, I've seen yes.
so that was my connection between the Beatles and India. But yeah, so I was really blessed actually in my family. My sister, for instance, gave me my first tarot card deck. Um, and my 2 brothers both really supported me as a musician because they were both musicians. My sister was a musician too, but I didn't work with her until I was older. But so we just had this musical and creative kind of psychic metaphysical thing going on, and
Mhm.
I think it was just a good environment to learn how to do things.
Yeah. Beth, Aspasia Rising says your family sound like characters in an Alice Hoffman novel. Love it.
Yes. They're they're just weirdos. They're just a bunch of weirdos. It's just crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. We're here to chat about Mavin. So, let's talk about Mavin, Gerald.
There
Take it
you go.
away.
I'm going to hold up a little chart that is the wheel of the year. And this is the solstices, which is long night or long day. And these are the equinoxes, which means equal night and equal day.
Mhm,
And here in the northern hemisphere, we're coming up upon the autumnal equinox,
mhm.
which is equal light and dark, equal night and day. And as you said earlier, it is the second of the three harvest festivals.
Yes, it
So,
is. It is. So, can I just intersperse my itty bitty little thing about Mabon here?
yes.
Um, So Mabon has many pronunciations.
It does.
Now, the witch that I work for up at the Renaissance Fair is I mean, she's only like 10 or 12 years older than me, but she seems like the quintessential crone. You know, she has
Mhm.
long white hair and beautiful, like she's just it. She is it. And she pronounces it Mabon. But
Mhm.
she is a Gardnerian witch, and a lot of Gardnerians are very opinionated about the way to practice witchcraft,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
a lot of other Wiccans are not. I'm a Nashmudian Wiccan, which you may never have heard of, but I am. And we pronounce it any old way you want. So it's, Mabon, Mabon, Mabun, Mabon, Mabon, or Mabon. Now, most witches that I know, sort of actually frown on the pronunciation Mabon. They wanted all those other weird ways. I don't think the gods care. I don't. I think
I agree with you.
yeah, I think they kind of go, that's cute. The little humans want to, worship that. That's cool. I don't
Yes.
think anybody cares how you pronounce it. I say Mabon because I'm working with this woman and the fair comes around at the time of the year that we're talking about Mabon. And
Mhm.
so I just don't fight the tide. She's my elder. In some ways, she's a connection to my line. So I don't want to disrespect her. And
Yes.
so that's what I do. That's what I
Yeah.
do. So the rest of this is just that as you said, it's the autumnal equinox, the harvest of fruits and late grains. The autumn equinox divides the day and night equally, and we all take a moment to pay our respects to the impending dark. We also give thanks to the waning sunlight as we store our harvest of this year's crop. The
Mhm.
Druids call this celebration, and I'm going to butcher this, Mien Fomher, or no, Mian Fawir, sorry, Mian Fawir, and honor the green man, the god of the forest, by offering libations to the trees. There we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think the voice of Jeffrey's on the other side of the can. Oh, oh, wait a minute. Jeffrey says unwitchy people call it pumpkin spice season.
Yes. Or pumpkin latte season.
Pumpkin latte season. um that's hilarious. I get a note handed to me from that, but
That's
um
very nice. That's very,
yes.
very nice.
Well, and I think, I will oftentimes call it Mabon, but I've been,
Mhm.
and I also have those pronunciations down on my sheets, and I go around it because I call it the autumnal equinox.
Yes, and I do that a lot too because it is coming right before my birthday actually, and I love the equinox. I love that there was this big thing right before my birthday. I just always think that's so cool because the equinox marks the moment that the sun goes into Libra, and I'm a
Okay.
Libra. So it's like
Aw.
this big old event just for me.
They planned it. They planned it.
They did. They planned
They planned it. And I think and I think for me, it does for me personally, it shifts because we talked last time about how we're already starting moving into the fall or autumn here in
Mhm.
the northern hemisphere. Saturday on the equinox is when I change my altar. I change
Oh,
I changed the color of the witch ball. I changed the chalice that I used for my daily workings, and I freshen everything up. It is also the day that I have some of the resurrection plants,
oh,
and so I only water those at the equinoxes and the solstices.
cool.
So,
Very
but
cool.
yeah, and so very much so, and it does move us into that water time of the year, or if you're thinking about tarot, it moves us into the cups season officially.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Interesting. Very good.
yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what other kinds of cool stuff I have here. I mean, I don't want to read this whole thing. This was from a ritual that I did many years ago, 10 years ago actually.
Mhm.
Um, But I will read some of the things about some other major religions and why they celebrate things at this time of year, because most major religions do have a celebration, not unlike Mabon, at this time of
Oh,
year.
yeah. And
And then,
and Plucky Heroine popped in a question. So if you want to star that, we can, because it's what are typical offerings for a Mabon celebration? And
okay.
then Beth asked another question
Hmm,
too underneath that.
uh, okay, got them both. All right, so let me read these things and then I'll do those questions.
Yeah.
So, first there is, I mean, I think just normal Americans and probably Canadians too, it's the fall, it's the going back to school season, it's the
Yes.
annual trip to Walmart to buy new sneakers and lunch boxes, you
Yep.
know right straight ahead. That in itself is a ritual for families that they go through every year. Whether
Mhm.
they light candles for it or not, it's a ritual because the
Yes.
kids look forward to it. Everybody senses the change in the air. And what they're really sensing is that change to the energy. They may not realize the light to darkness. They may think, oh, school's starting, it's going to get dark earlier. Maybe, if they're, aware of that. But
Yeah.
really, what they're sensing is the energy in themselves that has shifted.
Yes.
And they equate that with the trip to Walmart. Just
Mhm.
saying.
Yeah.
So, but in Judaism, this is the time for their high holy days. They've just celebrated their new year at the beginning of the month, followed by Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which is their most sacred and somber day of the year for all Jews. And this bears a striking resemblance to our celebration at Mabon. It's finishing old business, which includes resolving differences, settling
Mhm.
disputes, severing outgrown relationships, and leaving behind regret for things done wrong during the past year. In other words, atonement is a
Yep.
great thing to do at Mabon. A lot of people say it's kind of the witches' Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
right? And that's not a bad thing either. I mean, we still have one more harvest season to go, but giving thanks for all your blessings is always a good thing to do. And this
Yes.
is this is a good Sabbath to do that on. And
Yeah.
then you have Samhain, which is a whole other thing. We'll talk about that when we do Samhain. But the ancient Greeks associated this time with the goddess Persephone when she returns to the underworld to be with her husband Hades. It was supposedly a good time to enact rituals for protection and security
Oh
as
yeah.
well. That's ironic, isn't it?
Mhm.
As well as reflect on successes or failures from the previous months. So,
Mhm.
the ancient Greeks were a little bit self aware. And then for Christians, the Christian church replaced many early pagan equinox celebrations with Christianized observations. For example, Michaelmas, also known as the Feast of Michael and All Angels, on September 29th, fell near the September equinox. But for most in the US, it's the period between the start of school and Halloween, culminating to the trip to Walmart for candy and a fake pumpkin.
There you go. Yep. Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So there we have all of that stuff. So do
That-
you have more visual aids and stuff?
well, I don't have more visual aids. More people have popped in. So Moon Scarab, Amanda Carroll, and we've got Joyful Journey has joined us. We always like to say hi to those people. I I think one of the key things is that happens if we're in an agricultural society. What we're doing now, what we would be doing is we would be looking at the animals to find out which animals were going to actually survive the winter and if we were going to survive.
Mhm.
Because if our second harvest wasn't successful, are we going to have enough food to get us through past Yule?
Right.
And so we were all we're looking at that. Okay, what animals need to be to be harvested? Which
Yeah.
animals need to be
Yeah.
kept? So
Yeah. Yeah, because this is the second harvest and each of the 3 harvests harvest different things, right?
exactly,
So, I mean, this one, what would this one be? The vegetables and stuff, all
It,
the vegetables.
yeah. And I would say there's probably a lot of people out there who are very aware of people who have, 200 pounds of tomatoes. They've got the zucchini and the squash and um, corn, potatoes, all of those things and of course, the you know the wheat, the corn, the root crops. This is where apples are coming into season, and we're really, really working with those.
Mhm.
And so I think it's a really good time to, pumpkins and squash and all that stuff. Pumpkins and squash and other root vegetables like that are the
Mhm.
ones that are going to get us through the cold months of the year because they last for so long.
Right, right, so you're filling up your root cellar,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And herbs, you're drying your herbs.
Yeah,
Just
I
you were doing
harvested
that.
my sage, and, I made sage bundles, just last night, and I got a bumper crop. I just had so many sage branches to harvest, it was just
Mhm.
amazing, so
Yeah.
yeah, I love doing that, but, I mean, I used to have a garden, and when my daughter is with me over the summer, we try to do a garden, but we never have enough to we eat everything,
Yeah.
which is good. We don't have a whole bunch left over, so that's really, really good. But, let me go back and look at those 2 things that I starred.
Sure.
Um, so typical offerings for a Mabon ritual would be, well, really anything that you are grateful for. Anything. It can be, a thought, a wish, a stone, anything that you're really grateful for. Because even though you're putting it on the altar and giving it up to the deities, are they gonna come down and take a bite out of that apple? Probably not. Probably you can take it off the altar, so you're gonna get it back anyway. So all the things that you're grateful for, put them on the altar. So that's, vegetation, it can be things you just hold dear, really anything that you're grateful for, it's appropriate to have it on the altar. Now, do you wanna think about the altar and the decoration of the altar and what you want to put on it, you probably want to think of correspondences with the season outright. So you would look at color correspondences,
Yes.
colors of the foods that you've harvested are always like on my altar right now. I just went to the store and bought them because I didn't have anything growing except the sage, which I harvested. But, I bought some little gourds, the little knobby gourds, and
Mhm.
they're really fun shapes. Like one is, like it would look like a maraca, but the handle of it is all curved up, and I got a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
pots with different colors and a
Uh,
couple of little pumpkins, and I just arranged them so that all the little curves went into one another. It's really cute, and so that's what I put on my altar, and, I have to change out my candles, which I haven't done yet, but I will, and for sure on these bigger to me, the solstice and the equinoxes are the ones where I feel like, um something new is beginning, probably because I'm a Libra with Capricorn rising. Those are both cardinal signs. So the cardinal points of the year, which is the equinox and the solstices, are really important to me. And I feel them. I feel that energy
yeah.
shift. So for me, my house gets a good saging and I'm, lighting whatever incense that I feel smells good at the moment. That's the one that I burn. So I'm kind of purifying the air in my house, but I'm also opening my doors more before we have to shut everything down, even if the air is a little chilly, I'm letting that cold air in to kind of swoosh out any weird chi that's kind of lingering there. And I just want things to be um, as homey and harmonious as possible.
Sure. Well, yeah, and I would say any offerings that you do, things that you appreciate, as you said, And I also think wine, mead,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, depending upon how you personally celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm putting wine and coffee on my ancestor altar all of the time. So,
Nice.
and somebody had mentioned elderberry, elderberries, and Hershey asked, "Is elderberry good for autoimmune stuff?" Well, for entertainment purposes only, actually, Jeffrey makes an elderberry tincture to help um, for wellness, to fight off, to fight off any colds, any stuff like that. So Hershey, I would say give it a look. Elderberry is
Absolutely.
can be very powerful, especially when a witchy person does it.
Yeah, because supposedly they're putting all of their wonderful intention into it,
Yep.
and hopefully they love you. And so what they're putting in is great deal of love and, all those good things. Gerald, does that sign behind you say Zola's Tarot?
It does. Madame
Um,
Zola's
M-
Tarot.
Madame Zola was my first tarot stage name.
Which is exactly why I have this here in honor of Colleen, the Cool Crone. Everybody, please like and subscribe.
There you go. There you go. And it does say Madame Zola because I can just see the Zola.
Yes, it says,
Oh my God. It's so funny. That's so funny. I started reading at a shop a couple towns up many years
uh-huh.
ago, and I was Madame Zola. Madame Zola knows all.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, that's
Well,
so
and
funny.
and that idea of the offerings, I think it's a really important thing to. This is starting to have that feel of what we do at Samhain, where we really honor our ancestors, and
Mhm.
this is where it's the second full aspect of the goddess, the maid, the mother, who's passed. She's no longer, she's not quite crone, but she's raising the children.
Yes.
So that's really very important.
Yeah, very important. And so there was one other starred question. Colleen and Gerald, do you change up your tarot decks for Mabon? Do you, Gerald?
I haven't, but for the last couple of years, I'm like going, this sort of does have a bit of a feel for the season. I've been paying more attention to that.
Yeah,
So,
I don't. I change my decks so frequently anyway. And I know on camera I tend to use the same few over and over again, but that's because that's what feels good. That's what's calling to me. But I have a lot of decks and I use a lot of decks and I use them just whenever the mood strikes me for that particular one, that's what I use. So I don't change for Mabon. But I mean, our coven gets together, we do a ritual. This year we didn't open it to the public because
mhm.
there was really a lack of interest. We've just the last few rituals, we just haven't had very many people who wanted to come live to a ritual. And who knows why, but that's just where we're at. We used to have like tons of people coming, like, it was overflowing at my house. It was like we couldn't handle all the people, and so, this year it's just gonna be us, and, we always, have a ritual for every Sabbath, so for me, that's, the big deal, that's the big thing that I do.
Well, it's like that. It's like you called it the witches' Thanksgiving. It's
Mhm,
the time where we're working together to get the second harvest in.
mhm,
And sometimes, I mean, if you've got people coming over to help, you need to feed them and you
mhm,
need to be grateful for them. And
mhm.
that's so true. Um, I was thinking about what um, one of the new things that I have is the Seasons of the Witch, the Mabon Oracle.
Mhm.
So these are really nice. But I'm also looking at things that are black and white because of the equal night, equal day.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think I have 2 decks that are really black and white. I have one that is the, Kabbalah, tarot, and then I have another one that is the Hermetic Kabbalah tarot, and I think they're both
oh,
black and white,
they are. Yeah,
and
I have their headache.
yeah, and they're really nice, and I noticed on one of the shows I was just watching at, you have that Egyptian tarot, I have that, one too. Did you see it when I mentioned it, or no? Did I dream that? I think I dreamed it.
I didn't see that you mentioned that you had it, but I was using it.
Yeah,
So,
you were using it, and the last time I used it, it was one of our SBATs, where, we had, not very many people had shown up, so we just stayed in my living room. We didn't go down to the temple, and
huh?
nobody had a deck of cards. And of course, I'm, like an idiot buying cards all the time. So I had decks, literally falling off the shelves in my room. So I said, oh, okay, here, I have a deck. Let's use this deck. And it was the Egyptian deck. And it turned
Uh-huh.
out, it always turns out when that happens, that deck is just the perfect deck to read from.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Always
that.
happens. Yeah.
I love that. I one of the things that I have written down is that activities, making wine, baking bread, finding pine cones. This is a time when you're going to walk in the woods. You're going to see everything that is around.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff, and um, an apple is always an appropriate gift to an offering, I think, especially this time of the year because the animals will certainly enjoy it.
Yes, and Snow White would agree with you. An apple is always appropriate. I always think of that when I'm outdoors and eating an apple. I always think of that movie. I don't know why, but
There
I
you
always
go.
do.
Well, and if you cut an apple horizontally, it actually
Mhm.
has the pentagram in it. So
Yes, yes,
there you
we've done
go.
that done that many times. So, I'd like to let me go up here and just see if I'll start about a little more than halfway up, and I'm just gonna say hello to everybody and thank them for being here because 'cause I'm such a bad hostess. I always forget to say anything to anybody in the, chat. So, hello, Tarotstache, you're in the chat. Hello, Hershey the Shadow Reader, and Moon Scarab, and Pia's Eclectic Life, and Maruda. Is it Colors or Keelers? Do you know?
I just say Marita. So
Marita. Okay, we'll just say Marita. Hello, Amanda Carroll. Hello, Joyful Journey. Hello, Amanda Carroll again. Let's see. Hello, Kelly. Let's see. Who else do we have here? I know we have other people. Hello, White Wolf Mother. Hello, I am not John. Hello, Fatima Vieira. Hello, Deb Marsh.
Kellers as in sellers.
Oh, thank you. Twisted Sushi Quantum Love for All.
Mhm.
Oh, that's amazing. What a lovely energy that has.
Yep.
That's great. Arlene Forney. Hi, Arlene. Let's see. These other people that I've said hello to. Plucky Heroine, thank you for coming and hello. Lisa DeHart Hansen, hello. There's Plucky Heroine again.
I mean,
Who
they're all the best chatters.
They are all the best chatters. Oh, Indigo Jaguar Intuitive Arts. Hi. Hi. How are you? Nice to see you. Happy Mabon to everybody.
Yes, yes, yes.
Annie Hamlet. Hello. Oh, this is great. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. This
Mhm.
is such an underrated Sabbath. It's just most people don't really understand what it is and they kind of, skitter by it like they're afraid to make eye contact or something. But if you would indulge me, Gerald, I'd like to read a little bit. This is from the ritual that I did 10 years ago, but it's the story of the how Mabon came to be called Mabon.
I think it would be wonderful.
So I got to move my little thing here. So the name Mabon is Welsh and comes from the story of Mabon ap Modron. Mabon was the son of Modron, whose father was Afalach, the god of the underworld. So Mabon was the grandson of the king of the underworld. Does all the stories about Persephone and the uh,
Hmm.
what are those red fruits called?
Pomegranates.
Yes. Does that all now make sense? Yes,
Hmm.
it does. Modron lived on the Isle of Avalon was one of 9 women who took care of things there. Modron's mothering is deeply connected with things which must die, just like Demeter in Greek mythology. She is the spirit of motherhood. She is through blood and birth or via spirit, a caretaker or healer. She is connected with things that are hidden, deep knowledge, and true healing. Her name only means divine mother. That's Modron. So when Mabon was 3 nights old, while he slept between his mother and a wall, he was taken. Some say he was lost in the underworld like Persephone, and some say he was placed back into his mother's womb. In either case, Modron's cries of anguish were so great that the king's knights began searching for him at once. They eventually sought assistance from the 5 wisest animals: the blackbird, the stag, the owl, the eagle, and the salmon. When he was ready, Mabon was reborn as the god of light, aka the Sun King, and as his mother's champion. So we're really not sure how helpful the animals were, or who was searching for him, or where he was all that time that he was missing. But we do know that he was taken, his mother cried, and he returned.
Hmm.
Isn't that a cute, lovely story? I just love that.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that story, but I love the connection that it makes with Persephone and Demeter in the underworld. I just think that's a nice way to tie it all together, because
Yes.
a lot of times people who get into Wicca are really drawn to the Celtic version of everything, right?
Hmm.
And to be sure, they are such a prolific people that a lot of the literature is really focused on the Celtic aspect of it. We're now in the last, I'd say, 15 or 20 years, really beginning to notice and pay attention to other types of really pagan folklore and pagan beliefs, like um, the Norse stuff and things from the strega from Italy, and there's
Hmm.
other types of strega from Spain and the Latin countries, all different types of indigenous beliefs that really foster magic.
Hmm.
And so it isn't just the Celts, but the Celts are very strong. The Greeks and Romans are very strong too. And I know for me, I often just routinely confuse the Greek and the Roman gods and goddesses.
Sure.
Very, very tricky to keep them separated, because
Hmm.
I'm not a scholar. I haven't studied them. But also I kind of twist a lot of it up with the Celtic mythology because it's so prevalent. So
Yeah.
what I love about this story of Modron and Mabon ap Modron is seeing where the name comes from, seeing where it's connected, and seeing where it's connected to the Greek, so that we understand where everything's coming from.
Yes.
Because everybody there, it's just kind of like dancing around the ethers, this information. Oh, yeah, there's Persephone in the underworld. But how many times do you really sit down and read it? And there's 150 different versions of it. And you don't, they're all kind of the same. Some of them play into what we believe in Wicca, some of them don't. But this is just simple and just kind of ties it all up together. And I really love that.
Yes, and it also goes back to what you were saying earlier, Colleen, that there are a lot of celebrations going on this time of the year in different religions.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
and I think anytime we have an opportunity to see the connections and how we are similar rather than how we are different,
Hmm.
it really helps. It really connects us.
Yeah, it really does. And there's so many connections. I mean, wait till we get to Samhain.
Oh my goodness.
I got tons of stuff for Samhain.
Yeah. So
Really good.
White Wolf Mother asked a little earlier, is are there any don't do's on Mabon or Mabon?
Hmm. Well, I I think you need to be careful not to be greedy at Mabon. It is the harvest, and there's a lot of there's much plenty. Let's say let's say it
Yes.
that way. There's a lot of things out there, so you may be tempted to just gather up a big bundle of stuff and kind of hoard it. But that isn't the point. The
Yes.
point is that we all take care of each other. So that
Mhm.
harvest is for everyone. It isn't just, a piece for you and a piece for you and a piece for you. It's all going to maybe make one day it's going to make a big casserole and another day it's going to make a big stew, and we're all going to eat that.
Yes.
We're all going to partake of that. Um,
Yes.
and that also fosters this whole thing of, we're all one. We can all coexist, which I
Mhm.
think is so, so important today. It's really important today.
Yeah. And I think for me, this is the equinox of manifestation. What we planted, what we began at Ostara, or the spring equinox,
Mhm.
is coming to fruition. So I would say a
Mm.
don't do necessarily isn't. I would say you're probably not going to be wanting to plant anything unless it's very specific for, it's going to have a short growing period or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm
And
just looking here at I want to pull up my full moon information for September because there is I think there we go. September full moon in Aries. I love the full moon in Aries. Ah, this is what you begin with Mabon, with gratitude and counting your blessings and recognizing new blessings. Um, on the full moon, you should really take advantage of the Aries energy. You only get one full moon in Aries per year. And no matter what sign you are, Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. So whatever you start on that full moon or wish for on that full moon or just intend on that full moon has the power of Aries. Not
Mhm.
only that, but then we're followed in October with eclipses. And that is important because eclipses happen because of the nodes of the moon. And the nodes have just changed signs into Aries and Libra. So this Aries full moon is the first full moon in one of the signs of the nodes since they changed signs. So
Got it.
that it's not an eclipse, but it's a very powerful moon. It always is a powerful moon, but it's really supercharged with this one. And it is a super moon. It is a super full moon. It's very close to the earth. So
Uh-huh.
you're gonna see it, this big, huge ball of a moon on the horizon when it rises, and you're not going to be able to not notice this moon. It's just
Right.
very big. So, I'll just see if there's a few things in here that I can tell you about. Uh, well, if you indulge me, can I just read this? That
Yeah, go for
this is just this little summary snippet from the very beginning of my
it.
video about the full moon. This will place an emphasis on our relationships, Aries, Libra, the dark, the light. This is all about me, them, so that's relationships. There are some beautiful planetary aspects during the whole week surrounding the full moon that guarantee couples will go to the next level or really just enjoy their time together.
Mhm.
Also, Venus is sextile Mars around this time, giving everyone the feeling that love and romance are also possible for them, no matter what their situation. And we may see some parties giving way to weaker parties to make a graceful way out. And I'm
Mm.
hoping that this will have an influence between Russia and Ukraine and
Yes.
also between the US and China. I'm hoping that that will have that. And unlike the last four full moons, there's not a big catalyst for war or violence or even outrageous headlines. I mean, the last 4 full moons have been just outrageously um, brittle, caustic,
Yeah.
violent. You know, they've just had a lot of, and you'll notice that the things that are happening are, if not bringing us to the brink of war, if it comes down to a human level, it's people fighting. A lot of people are fighting and arguing. I mean, just tons. And this one is not. But this is just a nice big Aries full moon that's a
Hmm.
focus for our relationships and hanging out with friends. Um, and I already told you guys about the nodes, so I can skip that little part of it. But it does bring the power of new beginnings and the power of Aries, which will be felt in its purest form. And Aries, ruled by Mars, that power of just going forward is so, so strong.
Hmm.
Full moon. So use this energy. If you want something, do it on the full moon. We'll start it on Mabon. Start on Mabon because
Yeah.
that is the tipping point. That's the light and dark, right? And
Yeah.
you can use that energy as well when the sun is at 0 Libra, very strong.
Yeah.
Strong for relationships, strong
Hmm.
for any kind of agreement, any kind of legal thing, because Libra is the scales of justice. Um,
Hmm.
and it's also ruled by Venus. So anything having to do with your feminine side, or if you're a woman, anything that you equate to your own femininity. It's just
Hmm.
from that week between, well, it's almost a week between Mabon and that full moon. Do incredible work every day. Use every day and do work because it's going to be such beautiful energy, such
Well,
powerful energy.
yes, and I protection is really good for this time of the year.
Mhm,
Prosperity, that security, self-confidence. So you add those typical things that you do for this season or for this holiday.
mhm,
Um, I think that's really important. And things that you want for harmony and balance.
mhm,
Add that energy of the moon and in which signs. I mean, let's just kick it up and let's really, really maximize what we have because this is that time from the equinox to get us through Yule to where we can actually start getting more light.
yeah. And you know what would be really good work to do in those 6 days or so in between the equinox and the full moon is shadow work. Would be
Ooh.
excellent to do shadow work.
Mhm.
Mabon is the prelude to Samhain, right? And Samhain is the height of being able to get shadow work to work effectively. But right now, the more gratitude you have, the better. But what is holding you back? What is that little niggling thing in your soul that's just not allowing you to go full bore into what you want, not
Exactly.
allowing you to explore that potential 100,000%? And the way to do that, all, leading up to the full moon, is to go within. And that's the antithesis of what you usually do with the full moon. But remember that the full moon is very big energy. So if you're going within and trying to figure out what's making me uncomfortable, what part of my body has a twinge or a a tick or an ache or it's stretching or it's tight or it's loose or whatever, when you can feel that in your body, that's an emotion stuck that you can release.
Yes.
So use that energy. That's very powerful energy. Use it.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Something I was thinking of is as you were answering that question originally, you were like going, "Don't hoard." I
Yeah.
also think of this is the time of, do you remember that book Stone Soup or the story about Stone Soup
Hmm.
where somebody comes into town and people are hungry and he's like going, "Oh, I'm going to make stone soup." And eventually everybody in the community is adding something to make this soup wonderful.
Hmm.
And this is the feel
Yeah.
it of the season. That's the aspect of Thanksgiving that it
Yeah.
is. It's like I have this, I'm sharing it with you
Hmm.
because it's the right thing to do. It's the thing to do because it's
Right.
going to go bad. You can't eat all of these fruits and vegetables unless you can them or dry them or do something.
Right. Right. And, in this country, that was the way the original Thanksgiving took place. It was a potluck, everybody brought what they had.
Hmm.
And that's what we need to do now. So Mavin also really brings together the community because everybody has to pull their weight. A kid can't go out and gather up every single rutabaga that needs to be gathered, that
No,
we need everybody to go out there and get it. And then we need everybody to, use all their different root cellars to store them. And then we need to have a big feast and we need people to cook and this and that. It really takes the village to make this all happen.
it
So
truly is.
and it's a good thing to do at this time of year to reach out to your friends in your community because you're going to be going inside. You're going to be isolating a bit in the dark of the year. And so it's good to reconnect with your friends and remind them that you're there.
Yes.
Don't forget
So
about
very true.
Oh,
Well, and I think, and if people are trying, oh, what colors should I use? Look around you to see what colors there are in nature.
mhm,
I mean, you're going to start to see, you're going to see these reds, you're going to see yellows, you're going to see, greens shift. You're going
mhm.
to see browns. And if you are wanting stones or gems, things like that, think about gems that have those colors:
Absolutely.
topaz, sapphire, yellow agate, lapis, amethyst, and also think about things that we find in nature.
Yeah.
The river rocks, that now that the rivers may be going down, we can see them. So
Mhm.
they have all of that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I always think of the colors of the vegetables at this time of year because 'cause you've got the
Yes.
orange of the pumpkins, the yellow in the gourds, you've got that deep, beautiful green in the gourds, and you've got, the purple, like an eggplant and things like that, and
Mhm.
just a rusty color of, all the leaves changing color and stuff. There's so many beautiful, beautiful colors. So you can't really go wrong. And I know for me on my altar, every year I think, oh, I'm going to put up orange candles. I never find the orange candles. I end up using like white, or if I can get away with it and I have some, maybe black, but I hardly ever find the orange candles. But whatever you put up, you can make it work, is the point. You
Yes,
can
that's
make
true.
it work, you know.
That's true.
So
I was just trying to think if I've seen orange candles.
yeah, they usually have them around Halloween and
Yeah,
Thanksgiving, and they're usually those icky candles that either, drip a lot or have metal wicks or some weird thing like that.
yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
It's always so hard to Did we have more questions in the chat? I guess people are just listening along and
Yeah, and there's people have been like mentioning like wine and red mums,
yeah.
amber.
Yes,
So
Amber, sure.
White Wolf Mother's mother-in-law used to have a hobo party where people would
Aw,
bring a can of something.
yes.
Oh,
Nice.
and
Very nice.
Beth Aspasia Rising mentioned it. She said, Gerald, that's this is the season when the Seven of Pentacles becomes the Eight and the Nine of Pentacles. And I'm looking, yeah, because we have to wait for it, and then it grows, and then we keep working.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand at first what they were saying.
Sorry. Yeah,
No, I get it. Yeah,
yeah,
sure. Sure, yeah. You have to look at things like that. It becomes a story. It becomes the story.
yeah.
Mushrooms. Yeah, those are appropriate. I like to um I like to roast my vegetables starting this time of year. There's
Nice.
something for me very, very comforting about smelling them roasting and having kind of a big pile of them all together with all the different colors and the different textures. And
Mhm.
I love that. I just love that.
It's
That's my
wonderful.
favorite thing. But also when it gets cold, I start making chili. And then I have to eat chili for weeks. It gets a little boring, but I like it.
Yeah, and that's the, we've done all of the things. We're drying the beans and stuff like that so that we can make more soups when it's cold out.
Yeah, I love soups.
I do too.
Love them. Love, love, love them. So let's see. Do we have anything else that let's see, we talked about?
Hi, Thomas.
Oh, this. I forgot this thing. So where did I make this picture? Did I do it in here? Oh yeah, okay. So can I get rid of that? Hide accent. No. I want to hide the ribbon. How do I do that? Okay. There we go. I did it. Okay. So now I have to do this kind of carefully. I want to move this over here, and then I'm going to share that screen. Okay, let me make it as big as it can be. Yes. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to have, do I have my little thing on? I have this cool thing about the autumn equinox. Okay, there we go.
Cool.
Uh-oh. I thought I closed you. Good thing I didn't. That would be bad. Okay, so I'm going to present, share screen. We're going to do the entire screen. We're going to do this one. And so now you should be seeing, yeah, you see this thing.
Yes.
And can you see it okay? Can I make it bigger? Let me see if I can make it bigger.
Oh, you can.
Oh, I can make it bigger. Okay, so now I just have to maneuver myself back to the spiritual meaning. So this thing, whoops, is an Egyptian adornment. This article starts out saying the spiritual meaning of the autumn equinox. And this thing that you're looking at is an Egyptian adornment worn over the chest, which shows the duality between the rival gods Horus on one side, the god on the right. Wait, that's okay. That doesn't look like Horus, but neither does that. So we'll just go with it. Okay. The god on the right and Seth on the other, the god of darkness amidst other symbols. Okay. So I guess they must be the other symbols, the things that look like animals. The autumn equinox is a mysterious time. It marks an essential passage in the spiritual work that is often overlooked, misunderstood, and mistaken as dark and heretical. The autumn equinox is the time of balance between day and night, before the night takes over and brings the coming winter, a time of darkness and death. This duality between light and dark exists within humanity and in the work of spiritual transformation. All things must die before they can be born. All spiritual ascent requires descent first, and all those who long for light must firstly face their own inner darkness and overcome it. We'll look at the esoteric meaning of blah, 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 blah. Okay, we don't care about that stuff. But anyway, so that goes to the thing that I was talking about doing your shadow work, because it's really, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, well, and I think this is the perfect time to do it because we're balancing the light and the dark. And so that's what part of what doing shadow work is about. You have to balance. You're bringing that balance through.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because, people have a tendency to worry about shadow work, oh, shadow work. Oh, no. And the thing is that you're not doing it with an audience, like you're not, there's nobody there watching you do it. No, and in your spiritual journey in general, in your spiritual practice, there's no spiritual police. Nobody's keeping score. Nobody's watching the time. How long did you meditate? Was it long enough? It doesn't matter. It's what you need.
Did you meditate? If you did, good. If it was for a minute, great.
Yeah, exactly.
All intention.
It's all good. It's all really, really good. And the thing too is that we sometimes feel like there's this linear path that one goes on. Like I'm this far enlightened. I'm this far enlightened. But no, you're not. You're perfect where you are right now. You're in exactly the right spot for where you need to be right now. Is it different than me? You betcha. I hope it's different than me. I hope it's different than Gerald. I hope it's different than the other people in the chat, because everybody is just perfect where they are right now. And you can't hear that enough. And Mabon is a good time to tell people that,
Well,
you
yeah,
like,
it's perfect balance.
yes,
You are
yes.
exactly where you should be. And if you could pay attention to that and be in the moment of that perfect balance, you might be able to bring that feeling of perfect balance through with you throughout the year, just wherever you are.
Yeah. Or at least till January, if not the whole year, at least till January, for a few months, please. Can we do
Or,
that?
or let's face it, sometimes if I can just do that for a minute, that's good. Because I didn't do it a minute earlier. I didn't do it a minute yesterday.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. And every time you do it and you enjoy the feeling that you get from it, the more your body and your heart and your soul will want to go back to that feeling and feel it again and again and again. And that's why you do it. That's why you do it again.
and isn't that what magic is all about? It's that feeling that you have.
Mhm.
That's the intent. Because if you're wanting to create a sense of protection and you're setting intentions out there for your family, you put that energy and that feeling behind it, it
Mm.
activates it like really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
So everybody's perfect. Everybody's just right. But now go do your shadow work.
yes, you're perfect enough to do your shadow work. Do it.
Yes, there you go. That's great. That's great.
I mean, and it's like feeling that balance comes from a feeling of gratitude and abundance.
Yep.
Yes. And Plucky Heroine said, "Thank you. I needed to hear this."
Oh, good. Oh, good. That's great. You're gonna see my cat in a minute. Oh, nope, she's just sitting here.
And Healer Jules said, "Be grateful for good harvest." Yes.
Yeah, absolutely be grateful for good harvest. And even if you don't have the best harvest, like I know a lot of people because of really weird weather, they had things going great. And then at the end of the harvest, like they had these, I know up here in the Northeast, we had horrific rainstorms that like wiped a bunch of stuff out right before you harvested.
Yeah.
So, there's a lesson there to be learned. God knows what it is, or Goddess knows what it is. And you'll do it again next year and try to figure it out.
Yeah. White Wolf Mother had a question that you may be able to answer.
White Wolf Mother.
It's toward the bottom.
Okay, yeah, I see. And I just seen it. Oh boy, it just went. Okay, there it is. Let me just star it. It's easier when I star it. I've seen a lot of info on the X in your palms. Any insight? I have seen a lot of info on the X in my palms.
I think the X in your palms that
In just general, not me particularly.
yeah, I think so. I mean, do you have an X in your palm?
I have an M in my palm, which means money.
I don't know what I have in my palms.
I have an M on my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand, and the M is kind of distorted in my other hand, which explains why I'm not a millionaire. But the X in the palm. Well, I mean, you have it depends on what lines are forming the X. The fate line is usually the line that comes right up the middle. And then you have the headline that usually cuts right across the palm. But the heart line can also go across the palm. So it depends on which lines are making that X. Where they intersect does not necessarily mean that one line is sort of thwarting the energy of the other or cutting it off. It could mean that there's a point in time in your life that things kind of coalesce, things kind of come together at that point in your life. But the
Yeah.
difficulty with palm reading is figuring out, what the ages are. I mean, I guess I use my intuition to just sort of guess for people, but it's just one of those things. You just have to use your intuition for that.
White Wolf Mother said general.
Yeah,
Is says I
yeah.
have X in both center of my hand, my palm.
Well, it's probably that fate line crossing either the, headline well, probably the headline. Like, I don't know if you can see in mine, but I'll hold mine up. So I have in my hand can you see it? No, you can't. It just goes up. But there is a line that's coming off my lifeline that is a little deeper than it's showing here, and it crosses, and this line in the middle is the fate line, and they cross. But that fate line also crosses my heart line. And that's very often a space on the palm where you can look at the decade of 30 to 40, because for most people, that's a pretty significant decade when one makes their mark on the world. They start a career, they may or may not be successful in that career, but that's when they're really working, working, working hard. And if the line is just kind of straight, going bisecting those two lines, then that means, okay, from 30 to 40, you're going to have the same career. Basically, that's what that means.
Mhm.
But the X can be a lot of different things.
Yeah,
And it's really hard to say without actually looking at the
sure.
lines. And
It's part of the whole story.
yeah, and honestly, I'm not that great of a palm reader, but have to do it at the fair. What I do though is I'm able to touch the person's hand, and for me, that gives me a connection to the person, and that increases the kind of connection that I'm
Sure.
making with them, and so my intuition is really what I rely on quite a bit when I do palm reading. I mean, I do
Mhm.
know the basic lines and the basic stuff that is
Sure.
there, but I wouldn't call myself some,
Yeah.
great soothsayer of the palm. That's not that's not
Yeah.
my thing.
I also, this is an interesting thing because the equinoxes are always a good time to set your intentions for the next 6 months. Because
Mhm.
if I'm equal right now, where my attention is how I will spend the rest or for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to learn something new, you could set that intention and study through, for the next 6 months. That would be a perfect thing to do.
Yeah, that would be a really good thing to do. Really, really good.
So,
My
wow.
gosh. So
God.
Kelly says, "My line looks like a rope." That tracks. I also need lotion. Well, though, the lines that look like ropes where they have those little chains and islands in them, that means turbulence in that area. So whether it's going across, whether it's your heart line, that would mean, difficulties in relationships, or health, a lifeline, it might mean difficulties in health, headline, it might mean a period of confusion, so all those little lines do mean things in your palm. So,
That's
they
fascinating.
all kind of go together to, like you said, to make a picture. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, have
This has
we
been wonderful.
yes, it has been great, and, kind of went off on a few tangents. Thank you for indulging me.
I think they were great. And I think this is why people should just simply, you know what I'm going to say? They should like and subscribe to both of our channels
They
because you
should.
get good stuff. And Beth said, Gerald, so funny you said that. Just yesterday, I decided to focus on learning spell work. Ooh, good for you,
There you
Beth.
go. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Rossi showed up. Hi, Rossi.
Hi, Rossi. So, yeah, so we covered a whole bunch of little things. We talked a little bit about the moons and astrology. We talked a little bit about palmistry. We talked a lot about Mabon. We talked about my crazy family, and
We talked about tarot and if we
we talked
switch
about tarot.
them.
Mhm.
We also
Yeah,
talked about other cultures and what other
yeah,
religions
yeah.
have going on. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
so we're just kind of a very well-rounded shop, I think, tonight.
I think it was great. And a lot of people are, Delphi Ross said, just work hard, save, and be frugal matters. Yes, I think this is one of those times that because there's a lot of abundance going on, it's good to share that because then people will be able to share with you. And Beth said, Colleen, I loved what you said about workings from Mabon to full moon. Love that.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Um, I think it's so important not just to observe the moon and look at what she looks like, but also to use her energies to your benefit. And
Yes,
that's just what for me, that's what astrology is all about. That's the
yeah,
whole reason to study it.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
and also that's what Wicca is all about too, that's a reason to study that. I'm one of those people, everything that I do, I'm just like, well, that's just like that. Well, no, that's just like that. Well, it's all Zen. It all works together, you know.
Well, especially when you pay attention to, oh, I can pull this from here and and pull that. Everybody is saying that the tangents are important, all great info,
Good.
all great topics, so
Great.
I would consider it a win.
Okay. And you'll all be back to join us when we talk about Samhain. That's a really, really fun Sabbath to talk about. And not just because of the costumes. Come on. It's
Yes. I
not
mean,
just about that.
so much going on. Yes, so much going
All
on.
right. So thank you everybody for being here. I've enjoyed talking with you and seeing your comments and everything in the chat and being able to respond to them. Gerald, as always, thank you so much for showing up and being way more prepared than I am and and keeping the conversation going and on point. That's just much appreciated.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, everybody. We haven't set a date yet for the Samhain live stream, but I will announce it as soon as we do figure it out. And in
Yep.
the meantime, many blessings for a very happy Mabon and enjoy that Aries full moon because the eclipses coming up are not nearly as nice.
Yeah.
So sorry. All
Okay.
right. See you
Bye.
later. Bye, everybody.